Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sully's Open Conversation, the show that aims to have an unfamiliar conversation in a familiar environment. Today I have taken the short trip to Earlsfield to come and meet with Natalia. Welcome, Natalia.
Hi everyone.
How are you doing?
Nervous. How are you?
It gets better. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I will say now I'm sat in a slightly odd position. I had a bit of an incident last week where I'm waiting on getting some MRIs because I potentially may have fractured my coccyx from my own stupid doing. But anyway, we're here with Natalia doing another episode. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Nat.
Yes. Okay. I'm Nat. I work for Penguin Random House. I'm a campaign manager there. I've actually only worked there for a couple of months now. But love it. It's so good. And it's really nice that I get to work in a space where I get to one of my hobbies is like reading and like finding out how other people like perceive things and that sort of thing. So it's really nice that I get to do that in my day-to-day now. You asked me at the beginning what I've seen or what I've been doing that's like a positive. And George actually reminded me that
he had to remind
me that I have been sober for almost a month, which is great. But I say that, but I mean it's off my own back, to be honest. I kept putting it off and kept making excuses for myself and kind of saying like I can't not drink this month because it's this person's birthday or I've got too many plans and like if I don't drink I'll look like a weirdo and
you make excuses for yourself, don't you?
So stupid. And I just thought, no, do you know what? Sober October, like as the saying goes, and I've nearly done it. 2 days to go. So
congratulations.
Thanks. So that's something that I've been doing that's like quite positive. Also trying to start running a lot more. Like I've been listening to quite a lot of podcasts recently. And I think it was Fern Cotton's Happy Place, where she was talking with Richard E. Grant, and he basically every day posts a video of himself running, but like talks to his followers like whilst he's doing it.
Right.
And they like went into so much depth as to like how running makes you feel so much better, like how you get back from a run and like you barely ever, if not never, does that make sense?
No, I know what you mean.
If not never, like feel bad for going.
Yeah.
Like you'll always feel better after. So I'm really trying to like take that up as well, but like one thing at a time, like tick the alcohol thing.
Yeah.
Which is good. So yeah.
Amazing going. And so the most important question is, how have you been feeling mentally recently?
Oh my God, okay, big question, heavy question. I guess it's easy to just say, yeah, fine, like I've been fine and like things are going really well and it's just easier to just gloss over everything.
It is, yeah.
I'm not saying I've like had a really tough time recently, but I think we get a bit bogged down with just saying like yes or no. And it's not just like black or white. So my answer to that is it's been all right. I've been all right. But there have been instances where I like feel quite overwhelmed at times or like I feel my anxiety, like which is something that I've kind of suffered with for quite a long time, couple of years. It like comes in and out in waves quite a lot. And recently has been like where that has been happening quite a lot, which is weird because I thought taking alcohol out of the equation would really help me.
Yeah, reduce that.
But now I'm actually seeing that's probably not the issue here, Nat. Like you're not really listening to what you need or like, I don't know, what would help you in this like feeling.
Removing alcohol from the situation will certainly remove a factor that could induce anxiety as well, which is a massive positive factor, but removing that from the situation entirely obviously will get you to understand if there are other things causing it as well then, I suppose.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'm one of those people, and I've only like recently realised this, that if something is going wrong, like in my life, or that sounds so deep again, like when I'm saying these sorts of things, I don't want people to think like, oh my God, isn't that all right? Like, yeah, I'm all right. But when I think that something isn't 100%, I'll always think, oh, but if I do this or when this happens, everything will be fine. I always feel like there's something that I'm going to do that will...
Some extra step missing that will get you to that place.
Exactly. Or it's like, oh, I'm feeling this sad, but like in a couple of years, I'll be in this position. Like, I'll own a house. Like a couple, like, okay, talking realistically, a couple years ago, way before me and Nick like were in a position where we bought our first home in our flat in Earlsfield, which was beautiful and I loved it. I always felt so much anxiety about certain things, and I'd always remember thinking like, it's okay because as soon as I move out and as soon as I've got my own space, that will fix everything. And then once you get into that position and you're like, okay, I'm in the flat now and I'm in my own space and I'm in my own home, you realise that doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
You can't say to yourself like, this is going to resolve it, this is going to tick everything and make it better. It's not, because actually you're just brushing everything else under the carpet and you're not listening to like what's actually wrong or what's happening in that instance that's not allowing you to be fully fulfilled and fully happy. So I am a sucker for doing that. Like, I will admit it, and it is really bad, but I use that as a way of like coping with my anxiety in the short term.
Right. Whereas actually looking for that long term is also causing the anxiety as well. So I had a really interesting conversation with my dad a few months ago, and it was about, are you outcome orientated or the journey orientated? Because there are so many people in professional careers that are constantly looking for that next step. Oh, if I'm in that position, I'll be happier, and then I'll certainly get to that part. But then they'll eventually reach, I don't know if they ever have that kind of that outcome that they want to achieve, but they've missed out on the entire journey.
Everything else, that's the thing. And like, I've spoken to quite a few people before that have said, oh, I'm at like, for example, assistant level, but I know when I get to manager level, like I'm going to be the happiest I'm ever going to be. And it's like, actually, no, you're not. You need to basically look at every single step before you get to that manager level and take it in and enjoy it, and then enjoy the rest of what's to come. And I think we just get so bogged down with like, oh, but I'm not there yet, and everyone around me seems to have everything sorted. Like, why don't I? And
it's
like,
the grass
that's
is
hard.
greener kind of perspective.
Exactly. Like, that looks so much nicer over there. I want to be with the cool kids. Like, why am I here over on my own?
When you're not actually enjoying what you have in the moment. And that's mindfulness. So that's being in the moment. That's being present and being aware of where you are and what you have and everything that you've come through in order to get to that position as well. It's an interesting...
I was just going to say, I'm really bad at doing that. So I'm probably the worst person to be on this podcast. No, joking. But yeah, I'm really bad at doing that. I get so in my own head about things. And like, I know that I should maybe, you know, take a couple of minutes, sit on my own and like just think about, right, well, let's weigh up your options here, Nat. Why are you feeling like this? Like, has something changed or like triggered you during the week, or like, I don't know, just have bad thoughts come into your head because of a certain thing that's happened. I don't do that. Like, I tell myself I need to do it, but I'll never do it. So it's like I'm always in this constant cycle of being like, I know how I need to get better, but I won't do it. But you won't
do it, It's putting thoughts into action, in a way. And that, I mean, boiled down to, that is, what's the word for it? When you're trying... Procrastination. There we go.
I'm literally queen procrastinator.
Because if I certainly have heard from other people that struggle with anxiety that holding themselves accountable to what they say. So if they have a thought or want to do something, then either writing it down, putting it in a calendar, setting a timer. I set timers for a lot of my things now. If I say I need to do something, I set a timer because it's a trigger. If there's nothing other than your thoughts or your mind telling you to do it, chances are we want to kind of sit in our comfort zone, don't we? We want to kind of not hide away, but be very protected, and not holding yourself accountable and not doing the things that you say you want to in your own head. That 100%. They're then not real. As I've always been told, thoughts are not fact. So if they are just running around your mind and you say you want to do something, that's as real as bombarding horrible thoughts that say you want to do something and you don't do it. Do you see what I mean?
Oh my God, that's so clever. I've never like thought of it in that way. But like, that's really funny that you said that thing about the timers. Like, when I was like 17, 18, or like maybe in like the first couple of years of uni here, like 18, 19, whatever, I went through a phase of, it's not really a phase, whoever knows me really well, and if they listen to this, they're gonna be like, "Nah, it's not a phase. You still do this." I started setting alarms for absolutely everything.
Really?
Everything. It almost got to a point where it was quite like obsessive, and if I didn't set alarms, I felt like my whole day had no structure.
Wow.
I felt really out of place. I felt like I didn't have control over anything I was doing. So it was things like, okay, you've got your normal alarms to wake up. For me, it was literally an alarm to open my eyes, an alarm 10 minutes later to like stretch, an alarm like probably like 15 minutes later to tell me to get out of bed. Then I'd faff around in my room for a bit. Then an alarm to get in the shower, an alarm to dry my hair, like if I was drying my hair that day, like it was really stupid things. And like, you've got 10 minutes before you need to leave to go to your lecture.
You got set
it was
timetable for everything.
Every single, like if every 5 minutes in the day, if you were to look at my phone now, there is an alarm for that. Not that they're on,
right, but
they're there
right.
in case I ever need them, which it was almost like a bit of a safety blanket. And I didn't realise that was like my anxiety, like coming into play with that. I genuinely thought like, I'm just a bit weird. Like I'm just a weirdo that just loves alarms. Like I love being told that I need to go and get in the shower and wash my feet. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it is, yeah, it's an interesting concept to have, to think that is control for you.
Yeah, when actually something else is controlling me in that moment. Like
completely.
That alarm is telling me what to do, but I saw it as like, no, I'm telling myself because I set them.
Yeah.
So it was like really...
It's a bit of a... that's really
It's a bit of a mind fuck, to be honest. Like,
that's real Inception.
Matrix. Yeah. But yeah, so that was something that I started to do, and a lot of my friends picked up on it. And would always say like, bloody hell, Nat, like another alarm. And I was like, it's fine. Like, it's just to tell me I need to put my chips in the oven or whatever. But I was lying. It was actually telling me like, remember to drink water because you haven't drank enough water today. But I was making up excuses, saying, no, actually it's for this. When it got to a point where it was like, I'm reminding myself to do little things in order to, again, sounds dramatic, but keep me alive. I got to a point where I was like, I'm not drinking enough water. Like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. They were things that I had to be doing in order to feel okay. Like, so it was really odd. And like, I still do have like a couple of alarms that I set throughout the day.
How did you focus on reducing down those alarms?
Oh my God, it was so bad. Like,
really,
it got really obsessive, as I said. And I actually had a conversation with my mum about it. I think we were on holiday. And she kind of said, like, nah, I think this is getting really... Like, we'd be sunbathing and she'd hear my alarm inside the house.
Really?
Going, like, my alarm's going off. She was like, what's this about? Like, you know, why are you setting these alarms and stuff? And I kind of, like... No one had ever asked me that. Like, no one had said, like, what's the reason for this? And so when she did, and I basically, like, opened up to her and I was like, I don't know, like, it just helps me, like, get on with my day. She was really, like... I wouldn't say concern, because like that to me, concern is quite a negative word.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what's wrong? Like, what's
She's
wrong
showing
with
compassion.
you? Compassion, yeah. I think compassion is the best word. Look at that, thesaurus. So she showed quite a lot of compassion, but like didn't tell me that like there was anything wrong with me. It was almost like, okay, if that makes you feel better, fine, like keep doing it. But have you thought about condensing them down? And like that was really useful. So to have that conversation with my mum, someone who I never thought I would have a conversation about, you know, feeling obsessive about something or my anxiety and things like that. It was really nice. And I then started to just like, stop putting as many. And it's crazy to think that just that conversation, all I needed was a conversation about it.
It suddenly put you into the moment, didn't it? It suddenly made you realise the here and now. Because our minds, it's just so easy how they can just drift. And like, you won't even realise it, and then I'll like snap back into like reality on the sofa and be like, I've just been in a full-on daydream for about 10, 15 minutes and not known what the hell has gone on. Yeah,
I do it with my friends all the time. Love you all, and I do listen to everything you say. But we'll be having conversations about, I don't know, the most random stuff, and I'll just drift off for what feels like hours, and it's been like 3 minutes, and then I come back in the room and they're like still talking. And like I can pick up, I know it sounds so bad, but I can pick up on what the conversation's about, just based on what they're talking about. But like I always feel bad after. I'm like, why did I leave this room for a couple of minutes? Like it's really odd.
So that's the more work that I kind of do in mental health, because mental health as a whole has changed complete meaning for me now. It's actually, so I think the correct definition is the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of a person. So that means that you're emotionally and psychologically stable enough to operate in society. Whereas things like absenteeism and presenteeism, which is basically being at work and not being able to work,
Yeah.
so your mind's drifting. That's mental deterioration. Basically, that is your mental health. You're not able to stay focused enough for a long period of time to actually have the attention span to listen to that entire conversation. Which, I don't know, if someone said that to me a few years ago, I'd be like, that's really rude. Like, you actually said it.
Don't have the attention span for you.
But this is where it all comes in. This is mental health.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it is. It's not just, you don't have to be mentally ill to
But this is the thing, like, this is, sorry, I didn't mean to, like, cut into you,
go
but just
for it.
because, like, the thing that really annoys me about, you know, when people say, like, oh, that person's got mental health issues, or they've got a mental health problem, those words, issues and problem, is so negative. And it's like, actually, there's nothing wrong with that person. Like, they just need a bit of help. That's
Yeah.
fine. And we all do. But I think it's difficult because when someone says that, I literally just want to, like, say to them, like, do you even realise what you've just said? Like, you have put this person in a box
already
and pushed them a bit to the side. And it's like, that's what annoys me, because it's, yeah, I just
the
think,
language surrounding it.
I just think, like, there needs to be so many more conversations about it, and so much more knowledge needs to be like, you know, verbalized, like maybe in, like, group settings. I feel like it's all well and good having, like, one-on-one conversations, but you barely ever get group settings.
So it should be taught in schools. I think that's what
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And, like, when I think about when I was at school, in primary school, I don't think I ever learned about mental health.
Not at all.
At all.
Not at all.
I don't think it was ever taught. Like, I just, literally have no concept.
Even like, it's that thing that you're just there to, like, teach yourself, like, deal with it, like, like, actually discover it for yourself. A lot of people that, like, how you meant to learn and understand that yourself, and everyone else around you's feeling it, but no one's speaking about it.
Yeah, and then it obviously feeds into the fact of, you feel like you're the only person that has a problem. You know, there's that word, a problem. Like, you feel like you're the issue. Why do I feel like this? Why do I get really sweaty hands? Why do I feel like I'm about to faint? Everyone else in the room looks fine. Like, why is it just me? And then you start to then doubt yourself, put yourself in a box. Someone else doesn't need to do that for you if they haven't already. Like, you're doing that to yourself. And it's so, like, negative. It's so oppressive. It's so overwhelming, because it's like, I'm the issue here. What's wrong with me? Why am I not good? Like, it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And there are a lot of these issues or problems, like you say, a lot of these can span or start from that age where you should have been taught it when you were a kid.
100%.
Because that is the early prevention. That, if you can get in there at an early stage, you can prevent far worse or things happening.
I definitely agree. And, like, this is the thing, like, I've had a therapist for, I think, I'm going to say, like, 4 or 5 years.
Amazing.
Best thing I ever did. Like, I genuinely didn't realise I needed a therapist until I had my first session. And it was actually my mum and dad, shout out mum and dad, love you guys, that pushed me to do it. And I was in a really bad place without realising the severity of it. And my dad turned around and was like, you know, Nat, I really think you'd benefit from speaking to someone professional. We're always here for you, and your friend's always here for you. But speaking to someone that might be able to give you a bit more of what you need is going to really help you in the long run. And I kind of just brushed it under the carpet for a while, and I was like, no, I don't need help. Like, needing help makes me look weak. And I was just so scared of looking like something was wrong with me. Anyway, did it, and I love it. And it is that thing of, you won't always find your perfect therapist the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time round.
Yeah.
I was fortunate and lucky enough to have that experience. But I think it's important to find the right person.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. It's about the relationship. Ultimately,
100%.
you're there for yourself.
100%.
You're not there to
You don't want to be in a room and feel like
you're trying to please someone, or you're trying to force a relationship.
Or you're telling your whole story to, and it's going in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
What are you going to gain from that? Nothing.
If anything, it would make you worse because you're just
Exactly.
like, no one's listening to me.
Walk away and just feel like I'm futile. Like, what's the point here? Like, so yeah, she actually said to me, like, in one of our first sessions was, in order for you to understand where your anxiety comes from, Nat, you really need to dive in to your earliest memories of when you were younger, because there are so many things. Like, she basically said to me, I'm not saying that your childhood was bad, and I'm not saying it was perfect, but you need to think about elements and moments in your life from when you were little that maybe now play a factor. And
God, yeah.
like, you know,
At
even
that
if
age,
it was
our brains are a sponge.
exactly, like, even if it was, this is just an example, I don't know why it's coming into my head, but you know, you're going to get your lunch at primary school and someone jumps in front of you in the queue and pushes you out the way and they take the last thing of what you wanted. Like, if I felt sad in that instance, in that moment, that could now play a factor as to why I feel a bit like
if someone
of an
pushes you in the
outsider.
queue,
Yeah, like
100%.
I don't know, like,
100%.
but I didn't realise that. I thought, she's fucking loony. Like, do you know what I mean?
We're so, what's the word? We're so exposed at such a young age to, and we don't understand it at that point as well. So when we grow up, we're like, oh, that was nothing. At that point and at that age, that could have meant the absolute world to you.
Yeah,
That could have
literally
destroyed or made your entire
But that's
childhood.
what we just don't realise is, like, actually, in order to get better and understand ourselves, and like, I know obviously with therapy, like, a lot of people are fortunate in having it, especially private. And if you're going to go, you know, through other places, there's a lot of like waiting lists and whatnot. But I think it is so important that you do start to delve into younger ages and start thinking like, okay, I'm now doing this, but like, what was I doing when I was younger that maybe is a factor as to why I'm doing it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've like been doing a lot of like digging in my own like childhood and stuff, and there are a lot of things that I now pick up on.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, little Nat was so sad. Like, you know, why did she feel like that? She didn't need to feel like that. But now I understand, like, that's why certain things make me feel the way they do.
I had this.
So.
Classic, I found it on TikTok, but...
No, we love TikTok. We do love TikTok, but Jesus Christ.
It came up on my For You page, because obviously I like a few things that come up with mental health and depression and mindfulness and things like that. And there was this type of therapy or meditation called, like, it wasn't past self, but it was like, it's basically your younger self. And it tells you, it's playing this music and it talks you through, like, you're sat in your own cinema screen.
Oh my God.
And on the screen is just a bunch of clips when you're a child, like good, bad, sad, happy. And you can like jump into those clips and tell yourself, like, as a younger person, what you're going to be able to do and what you do.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
I started crying in it.
I'm literally getting teary.
Yeah.
Oh my
God. It was amazing. Like, just to have that in my imagination, and again, this comes back to the stereotype of meditation has to be, you're not thinking of anything. That's
you've got to close your eyes, you need to sit with crossed legs. Like, no,
It's
absolutely
just not like that at all. And I was just in absolute amazement. I was changed just in that tiny moment, because you're not just constantly focusing on the future there, like you say, like you're looking for your next promotion or like what will make me happier. It's what have you done in that time from when you were that age to now to make you here right now. And that's what's most important, because we don't appreciate the journey. We're so guilty of not appreciating the journey enough. And then when you get to the place that you want to be and you don't feel fulfilled, you're like, something's missing.
It's that pressure, isn't it? It's feeling that if I was, you know, well, Nat again, would you be happy as to where I am right now? Because I'm not happy. And it's that pressure of like, focusing more on everyone else around you. And I do this quite a lot. I think about the past a lot, and I almost like, what's the word? Punish myself for certain things because I'm like, oh, but I was like a little shit back then, or what I did to that person was really mean. I should now punish myself for it. And it's that pressure, isn't it? It's like, but you don't need to do that. Why? Yeah. It's been and gone. Leave it. Just let it lie. Like, why are you trying to like resurface it?
Yeah.
And it's just not nice. It's like, you know, bringing that baggage on with you. I'm not saying it's not necessarily baggage, but it's like, how are you going to be able to keep going if you've got stuff that's weighing you down and like trudging you, like it's...
And it takes a lot to release of that.
100%.
This can be mulled over 15, 20 years. Yeah. Like, that's a hell of a long time to then just be like, right, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
It's a long old process, but it's so necessary.
100%.
So necessary. And it's... like even some of my friends will say like, I don't need a therapist. What are you talking about? And I'm like, you don't need to be struggling. You don't need to be in a bad place. I promise you, like, going to therapy will make you perceive yourself, become more self-aware, and therefore see a different projection of society and how people are.
Yeah.
You begin to value different things. Mm-hmm. Like, prior to any kind of therapy, and when I was very unhappy, I was prioritizing monetary, materialistic things that I think gave me happiness. And then through all of that, and then I'm out the other side, and I'm like, that is just a means to an end. That would obviously allow me to live a more comfortable life. Yeah. Which, of course, some people don't get the privilege to, which is really sad. But that isn't the end goal. That can't be the end goal. If that's the end goal, that's why we've got a society, a capitalist society of people trying to get to the top and make as much money as possible and make change. Like, realistically, you see people do that. They get so poisoned by that kind of culture and kind of ethics that once they are there, they've totally forgotten why they wanted to get there in the first place, and now they're just kind of indulging in...
It's so bad, isn't it? Like, getting into those habits and thinking like, yeah, this is going to help me. Like, I used to be addicted to shopping. Like, it was really bad to the point where I was probably getting like an ASOS parcel like every day. And I was using that as a way. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ!
Was that delivery driver going?
Like, we were on name terms. Yeah, my WhatsApp and everything. No, I'm joking. But it was really bad, and you know, things like, okay, I know obviously I don't want to dive into too much about like what I'm about to say, but things like Klarna, where you can buy now, pay later,
making it more accessible.
That made it so much harder to step away from an addiction that I didn't see as was making me worse, like was making my anxiety and sadness worse. And like, it is really hard to step away from that, because it's like, if it's this easy to just go online and buy myself something to make myself feel good, why doesn't everyone do this? Like, why am I the only one that's like doing this? And it got really bad and really out of hand, and it just wasn't a nice place to be, because I just felt like I was like doing it to make myself feel better, but then I still felt shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's almost like, it's like, let's say, gambling and stuff. Like, it provides you with that rush of dopamine.
Yeah.
And then it goes, and then you're like, what? Like,
see ya.
What? Like, another one.
Literally, like when we were on that cruise, me and George have been on a cruise together, everyone. It was great. Like, we would go to the casino, we'd pop in like, I don't know, 10 euros, pressing all the buttons, like, this is amazing. And then you lose your money and it's like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I'm not saying that we've got
no, we've not got
gambling issues. No.
So, when did you first notice that your anxiety and things were getting... Or was it you that noticed it? Was it someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it comes back to that time where I was like setting a lot of alarms for myself. I think definitely during uni was where, or actually when I came back from uni. So I was probably, 2021. Yeah. Which actually is only 5 years ago. But to me, that it feels like it should be like 10, 20, like, 20 is a bit dramatic, but like a long, long time ago. So yeah, a lot has happened in those years. But when I was at uni, my mum was like very unwell and had breast cancer. And that really, really affected me, but I didn't deal with it.
Right.
I really just...
Push it away.
Yeah, pushed it away. And like, it was almost like going to uni was a blessing in disguise because I was far away from something bad that was happening. And I got to choose when I would go home and visit, or, you know, if mum really needed me. And my brother was still really young. And like, now looking back at it, like, I do always feel really bad for that time. And like, I really wish I was there for my mum, my dad, my brother, like all three of them. And obviously majority for my mum. Because I just feel like I was such a bad daughter and just wasn't there for her.
Dealing it in different ways though, isn't it?
Yeah, my way of dealing with it was, if I don't see it, it's not there.
It's not a problem.
It's not an issue.
See no evil, speak no evil.
Exactly. So that really, really, like, messed me up a little bit. So when I came back from uni and mum was on, is it remission? I always get it. Remission,
yeah,
like when you're getting
remission.
better.
Yeah.
And she was like taking tablets for it and everything. That then started to kick in. Like, fuck, I could have really lost my mum. And like, what was I doing all this time? Why wasn't I at home? Like, you know, and it's that thing of like, no, but you do also need to be selfish and you need to think about your future and what you're doing. Yeah, of course. But that's all I was doing. And I don't think I was really balancing how I felt, how my family was feeling, but like weighing them up together.
Yeah.
So that was probably when I started to realise, like, after I came back from uni or like near the end of uni, like, fuck, like I've been really shit here. And then since then, like my anxiety just started to like spiral really. I genuinely got to a point where I thought I had a brain tumour.
Really?
I didn't think I was anxious. I didn't think it was anxiety. I genuinely thought I was dying.
Jesus.
That's how severe it got. Where I was just like, what's going on with me? And loads of people were saying like, Nat, do you think maybe you're suffering with anxiety? Like, you know, you're saying this thing about how you always feel faint, like you're always tired, like it started to get really bad, like in social environments, like where I just wouldn't want to be with certain people, but I wouldn't know why I didn't want to be with them. They would just make me feel really, now I know, anxious.
Yeah.
But I genuinely thought, yeah, there we are. I genuinely thought I had a brain tumour.
Wow.
I drilled it like so much in my head that I was ill to that extent that I started to believe it.
Wow. Wow. And then, so did you then seek therapy? Was it?
Yeah, so that was when it got really, really bad. And like, yeah, quite a lot of things happened. And that was when my dad and my mum kind of sat me down after I'd been like in bed for like a couple of days, like back to back, and just didn't want to see anyone. That's when they sat me down and they said, like, we think you'd really benefit from this and we would really like you to do it because, you know, we're not prepared to lose our daughter. And I think...
Massive creds to them.
Yeah, it is.
It's obviously very scary both for you and for them.
Yeah.
But to have parents that are happy to advise that and give that as a recommendation... Some parents even in themselves wouldn't go and seek therapy because they think it's because you need something wrong. But for them to actually say, look, this is something that you could definitely... Have they had it before?
I think my dad's had it before.
Right, so they've got some sort of...
Yeah, so he's running off the fact, like, I benefited from it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So, which is really good. But I guess, like, with that... what's the word? Not age range. What am I trying to say?
Generation.
With that generation... I think there is still, not so much our parents, maybe our grandparents' generation, there is such a stigma around mental health and seeking help and talking to someone that it was really nice to hear that from my parents. And like, even to this day, like the other week, my dad was round and he was saying to me like, oh, I was talking to this person who, you know, their daughter or their son like suffers with anxiety and we were talking about it. And like, this sounds so silly, but that made me so proud to like sit there and be like, oh my God, my dad is talking to someone else about what I am going through. Not necessarily going into like the ins and outs of it, but having that open conversation with someone that I don't know. But it's just so nice that he's getting the word out there. And I just thought that was so lovely to hear. And like I felt that element of like proudness, which you don't really normally get with
yeah.
children with their pet. Like it's almost the other way around, but yeah, like I am very fortunate in that sense that they have been there as well. And like even like, I mean, can I say names? Am I allowed to
Go for it.
say names? No, I'm allowed to say names. Even my boyfriend Nick, like we have been together since we were 15, 16, right? That now is 10 years down the line. That whole time, Nick has been there and been next to me and helped me and pushed me to, you know, be a better person. I get really teary about it because I think it's really nice to recognise like the good things that other person has done for you, but ultimately they've only pushed you so far. You've pushed yourself the rest of the way. And I just think like it's just so lovely to know that there are people that want the best for you.
Yeah.
Like, you to be the best version of yourself. And during those times I didn't see that, and now I reflect on that and I think like, fucking hell. Like,
that's pretty sick.
That was really sick. Like I really needed those people, and they pulled through for me.
And they need you. That's the thing.
Exactly.
It's reciprocated.
Exactly, and that's what's really like sad. Is like a lot of people don't see that and don't feel that.
Yeah.
So
they're less in tune, and it is a very intense society and distracting one as well. But even just sitting down to yourself for 15, I've now taken upon, so if I do go away or go on holiday or have a nice weekend or whatever, I make sure that I have at least like 15, 20 minutes for myself to just rewind the entire experience. Then I can relive it and actually process it, how I felt and how it made me feel, and just all the memories, because otherwise I don't feel satisfied. I feel like it was just a rush and then it's done and then I'm back into normal society again. Yeah.
At all.
You need to have that recollection, you need to have that motion, just letting it wash over your brain a bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you just do it, it's done, and then you're trying to chase the next thing.
100%.
There's no satisfaction.
Exactly, and it also comes down to as well, like what's important to me, what's fulfilling me. Like I've spoken to a couple of friends before that have said like, I hate my job. I don't want to be in this job. Like I don't feel happy, and it's almost like, leave then.
Yeah, yes.
To put it point blank, leave. The reason I'm telling you to leave is because
it makes you feel that way.
Exactly. It makes you feel like shit. You're one of my closest friends and I'm seeing you unhappy. Like, that's not fair on you.
Yeah.
Forget everyone else. Forget if, like, you know, you're going to piss off your manager for leaving. Fuck them. They're not a good manager then. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think
we spend such a long time in work.
Oh my God, so many hours.
I understand that people aren't as fortunate to just be able to leave and get a new job or find a new job in specific areas and stuff. But if it genuinely makes you feel like that, and you're in work for 8 hours a day,
literally, if not more,
like 45 weeks of the year.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
Are you
isn't
really
it?
gonna? And this is where it comes into workplace well-being and mental health. It's why it's so important, is because you're there for that long. It has such an impact and can be detrimental to your mental health and mental well-being. Why are you not talking about it?
Yeah.
Why are you not focusing on that in the workplace? Stress, depression and anxiety made up like 60% of absences in the UK last year.
It's ridiculous. But no one's doing anything about that.
No.
Like, there are so many companies that don't, still to this day, where the conversation around mental health is so vast now from what it used to be. I still don't think we're there at all. Like, I think we're like in a very small like bracket.
Yeah.
However, it is a lot more vaster than how it was.
But that's where it gets lost, because if you get to the furthest outreaches, and I've seen corporate mental health be delivered, and it's just like so far removed from what can actually benefit.
Yeah. And it's almost like really corporate companies. You are the ones that should be drilling in that we need to look after our mental health. You are the ones that should have programs and workshops and people that come in and sit people down and say, right, I don't want to talk about anything to do with work today. You guys are going to tell me exactly how you feel, but be honest about it, like sort of thing. Like, they're the companies that need to really be drilling this in.
It's interesting because they're the companies that have the money, but they're also the companies that have so many employees that you can then just get lost as like a common machine.
Yeah.
and to have that much control over that many employees must be difficult. But this also leads on to, I don't think there are the programs and stuff out there for them to take on, which is quite interesting, is that it is still quite fresh, and certainly being brought into the workplace is very, very fresh.
Yeah.
So to have a program that you can send your employees to, like being mental health, they have all these mental health training and things like that, but you're more aware, but you're not fully understanding. You're not actually qualified to deal with someone that is then going through an episode or is in crisis.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, a lot of the culture, which is brilliant. You were saying you were proud about how your dad was speaking to someone else. So my dad's opened up about it quite a lot at his work.
That's
so
amazing.
And that's obviously, it's quite a big corporate, and they did for World Mental Health Day a couple of weeks ago, they've basically done a conversation with my dad talking about everything that I've been through, which is absolutely amazing. It is so, so, so cool. But they are now starting to kick into gear and really understand what it means to have mental health and what it means to have mental well-being in the workplace, and having an environment that's safe and supportive for those that don't feel as though that they can come out and talk about it. And I said it starts from the top down. It cascades from the top down. Someone is only ever going to feel comfortable enough to talk about their mental health if their manager has opened up about it, or if they're just any of their superiors, just someone in. Because if it's from the bottom, it's just conversations between associates. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot can be said at that point. But if it's coming from up there and is then going down and down, that is creating an inclusive culture for everyone to then be a part of.
Exactly. And I think as well, just on that, like how you mentioned with, like, I don't know, assistant level, for example, that's just like you're having conversations about it, but nothing's happening.
But you can't influence real change because you're just at the bottom. Like there's no. You're answering to someone above you, and they're answering to someone above them, and it has to start there, because then it's shot straight down, and then it just will disperse so quickly, far quicker if some associate was like, I'm going to try and make this campaign in this company. The amount of bureaucracy to try and push that through the top levels, and they're too busy doing their work, and it just gets lost immediately.
You'll feel fulfilled though. Like they'll feel fulfillment from doing it. Needless to say, will something happen from it? Yeah. Like, you know, is it going to reach the right person? Like, so yeah, it is important that it comes from the top down. Because I think as well, like, okay, talking strategically in terms of like, well, not strategic, that's the wrong word. If Nick listens to this, he's going to be like, Nat, you've said a lot of wrong words in this. Like, he always tells me off.
No, it is kind of systematically.
Yeah, but like pressure in the workplace comes from the top down.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that should be going.
They're inflicting the.
Exactly. Yeah. Apologies for putting this pressure on you. How does it make you feel that you now have this amount of work?
Rather than this has to be on my desk on Monday.
Fucking hell. You want to spit in their faces, don't you? Don't do that. We still live in COVID
times. So in terms of work, has your anxiety and mental health ever impacted? And
oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Like even just, I didn't even let you finish your sentence.
No. Oh my God.
Even just a couple of months ago, like obviously I said that I started my new job at Penguin, which I love, literally in love with the whole role, in August. So I've literally only been there, thank you, only been there for like, my maths is so bad. This is why I'm going into reading, not maths.
So
3 months?
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. Right at the beginning, so just to give a bit of perspective, what is wrong with me? Background, just to give a bit of background, my role before in my previous job was very work from home. We didn't have an office until the last couple of months as to when I was there, which was really nice, and I just love interaction with people in a workplace. But don't get me wrong, I do also love working from home some days. Like,
there's perks of both.
Yeah, I don't know how we ever did every single day in the office. But anyway, story for another time. So to go into a role which was, they had set days when you come into the office, you work from home these days, but also if you want to come into the office the other day, you can. Like, but we would like you on X days. The anxiety that I felt from going from a role that was predominantly work from home into you're in an office environment right now And also not ever coming from a publishing background, I would literally sit in the first couple of weeks, I would sit in like the meetings and feel like I was going to pass out all the time. I always had to have my glasses next to me in case I got like a headache, because I just felt like that was a safety blanket, putting them on, and like I just felt better. Always had to have like a bottle of water with me, because I always felt like my mouth was going really dry and like I just couldn't speak, or if someone asked me a question, like I'd stutter, and like I really felt anxious in my first couple of weeks. And I still do sometimes, like if someone asks me like a publishing specific question and I'm like, oh God, like, don't really know the answer to that, I'll try and like incorporate my knowledge on like marketing and like what I've already got, but like remind them and just be like, oh, I'll just need to check the answer. Like I was never doing that before. I just felt like, oh my God, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Like this world is just so like different.
Yeah.
So yeah, is the answer.
Do you feel comfortable? So if, say you were feeling very overwhelmed and anxious, do you feel comfortable enough to tell them exactly what's going on?
100%. And like even things like a couple of weeks ago, I think it was the beginning of the month, I did a 20k walk for Mental Health UK. Amazing. And it was insane. Like I did it with my cousin, and we did like Race for Life with each other like a couple of years ago, and we just loved it. And I feel like now we've basically said to one another, like when it comes to walks or races like this, let's always do it together.
Nice.
And we met such amazing people. But I told my work that, like my immediate team, and I said, I'm doing like a walk, like if you guys want to like give any money towards it, like blah, blah, blah. And everyone was so supportive. And like, I just get the sense that everyone cares about one another. And it's like, if someone's not in the office that day, it's like, why? Are they all right? Like, it's not just like, oh, they've got a bug, they're not going to be it. But are they okay?
It's actually like a sense of community.
Yeah.
There is like a, it's tighter than just work.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
And for me to say that after only being there a couple of months, is...
That's impressive.
You know, impressive. It is. And they are such a big company.
Yeah.
You know, Penguin are like...
Amazing.
Hold tight, Penguin. I'm about to plug them, shout them out. Like one of the biggest publishing like companies ever. So
it's amazing.
To know that they have that stability in looking after their employees is just like, amazing.
Amazing.
So...
Very cool indeed.
Yeah. I don't know how long we've been talking.
It's getting close to finish. And it's been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Nat.
Yeah, I've loved it.
So if there is one particular mindfulness technique that you employ that you think that others would benefit from if they tried it, what would that be?
Right, okay. This is really going to show now the homebody that I am. I think, and I've been doing this quite recently, if you have plans to do something and you feel really crap that day and you really don't want to do it, but you feel that pressure of like, I'm going to let these people down, don't go. Just don't go. Just say,
love it. No,
I don't want to go today and I want to stay at home and look after my mental health. Like, you don't need to say that. To be honest, you don't need to say anything.
Yeah, you don't need to,
Just don't go. Yeah. And like that has really helped me, because I was putting myself in situations where it was like, I'm forced to be here.
Yeah.
And now it's...
And that's where you have no self-control as well.
Yeah.
Like, where does the line stop? Where does it stop?
Yeah. Where's the line in the sand? But like, I'm happiest at home.
Yeah.
I love my home. So just say no.
And it's beautiful, so...
Thank you, yeah. I mean, little things that we...
Don't nitpick.
Yeah, I can't be picky.
But yeah, that's absolutely fabulous, Natalia. So lovely to see you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening and watching.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time on Sully's Open Conversation. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.